'Tis pretty to be in Ballinderry, 'tis pretty to be in Ochali, but 'tis prettier to be in Ballinderry.
It's a great organization. And you know, it's interesting. One of the women on our founding committee was June Callwood, who of course is very well known by everyone, anyone who cares about people and I mean, June Callwood.
Another Canadian icon.
She was a wonderful person. She was a lovely woman and a very important leader in many areas. Anyway, she was on our founding committee, and I always remember the first meeting. The woman, my friend Sandy, who suggested that we have this meeting and bring a bunch of women together and brainstorm. So the meeting was at Homemakers magazine. Sally Armstrong gave us that space and was on that committee as well. And so there were about 10 or 12 of us, and Sandy said at the beginning of the meeting, well, we're all here to brainstorm, just throw out our ideas and percolate, and but you know, we're not asking you to come back time and time again. Well, by the time we got around in the discussion to June Callwood, she said, well, I think, you know, it was toward the end of the meeting, I think we should all go away with the things that we said we're going to do, and then we'll come back to, I mean, she created a committee, and then ultimately she created a chairperson for the board of directors, and that was me, and that came from June. I wasn't even at that meeting. We had a show the day they had the first board of directors meeting. When I got home, I got the phone call telling me that I was the chair.
You were delegated.
Yeah, and I knew nothing about chairing a board of directors. This was another experience where I knew nothing. But you know, it's okay when you know nothing if you're open to letting people help you, because people really want to help, and they're valued when they can help you. And so I learned a lot in that experience, and I learned it because people helped me learn. So I didn't only help. I mean, the thing about doing something that's a greater good, has the potential to be a greater good, is that generally it's a personal good as well. You know, it usually is a win-win kind of situation.
So in your giving and allowing others to give. Exactly,
you're getting to. It's two-way.
And you do a lot of that. You're also, last year you were acknowledged as a woman of distinction by the YWCA. That was
very exciting. That was related to my involvement in the breast cancer community. That was in the area of health. That was very interesting. I got the call from them about a month and a half after my husband had died, and I got a message from a person whose name I didn't know, and I called back, and she told me, and I was so overwhelmed. I only could cry, and I couldn't talk to her. I said, I have to call you another time, because my husband would have been so proud, and I was, you know, it's hard not to share those things, but life is like that. Anyway, I was very honored I was thrilled to be honored by the YWCA, and I'm up there with a lot of lovely and important women, so it's a great distinction for me as far as I'm concerned. That was thrilling, and of course our families were there for that, and that was wonderful. It was in Ottawa, of course, and we were presented by Adrienne Clarkson, whom we had met, and actually when she made the presentation to us, she shook hands with us, and there's all kinds of pomp and ceremony. It's quite spectacular, but she shook hands with us, and she said, last time we saw each other was in a makeup room at the CBC, which was very true, and made it feel very personal. Also, one of the people, there were many people receiving on that particular day, and one of them was Stephen Lewis, who was not receiving Order of Canada, but he was receiving I think the highest level, which I can't remember, and it was very sweet. And we know Stephen, we've known him for a long time. He was involved with UNICEF for a long time, and we were involved with UNICEF, and we did a television documentary about the work of UNICEF in Bolivia, and Stephen helped to kind of move that process forward. So we had that connection, and we knew Michelle, of course, for a very long time, and his wife, Michelle Landsberg. And so they were all there to honor Stephen. Michelle was there, and their 3 children, and 1 grandchild at the time. They now have 2. 2 little boys. The little boy was there, and he calls Stephen grandfather. The word for grandfather is Zeta. He calls him Zeta, which means grandfather in Yiddish. And as I say, the whole event is full of pomp and ceremony. Someone in a uniform marches up to where you're sitting and stands at the end of the aisle, and you stand up, and then you follow that person in uniform back to the platform, and then the kind of bio information is read, and all of that. So this uniformed guy comes over, marches up to Stephen's aisle, and Stephen stands up and starts to follow him back. And the little grandson from the back of the hall, he's probably 2 years old, is Zeta! Zeta! It was hilarious. It was such a sweet moment. Oh my goodness.
The room must have been moved by it.
Oh, it was adorable, and it was hilarious. Anyway, that was very, very thrilling. Very thrilling. And my daughter was pregnant with her second son, Elijah, and so we went by train because she was too much pregnant to go on a plane. And so she came by train, and she and my husband and I, and then her husband came later, I think by train, I can't remember. And my son flew in from the States. And Lois's son flew in from the States, and Bram's family's all here, and they all came. It was lovely. Another honor we got was an honorary doctorate degree from Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax. And we mistakenly did not bring our families there. That was a big mistake, and we kicked ourselves up and down for that, because it was a very touching, thrilling experience, and we didn't realize how remarkable it would be. How could we realize it never happened before? And we were sorry. We were very sorry that we hadn't brought our families, because they would have been thrilled.
Well, and the doctorate sounds so serious.
Oh yeah. I heard a conversation on the radio yesterday about some people who have PhDs and other people who have, like us, honorary doctorates, calling themselves doctor. And it amused me, because I can never imagine calling myself doctor. It's an honorary degree, although I think people who have PhDs are entitled to call themselves doctors. Mm-hmm. But when we were coming home from that experience, we happened to run into the pharmacist from Bram and I live in this same neighborhood, and we have the same pharmacist, and we happened to run into this guy in the airport, and we teased him. We said, "Well, we can write our own prescriptions now."
Dr. Sharon, Dr. Lois, exactly, Dr. Bram.
Right. I'm trying to think. We've received awards in the children's music and children's entertainment and children's television community. And we received Juno Awards and from the music industry, things like that. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that I don't hang on to those and remember all of them. And some things are so remarkable that they do stand out. And like I got an award from Variety Club. Again, it must have been because of my work in the breast cancer community. It was very thrilling, and it was thrilling for a couple of reasons. First of all, they asked me, their procedure, they had a luncheon, but their procedure is to have you choose the person who speaks about you. And so I asked my daughter to do that. And I sat weeping. It was very lovely and very moving. And then, of course, I had to do a bit of a thank you. And my parents were there. It was a long time ago. And I got to thank them. I got to talk about their influence on me, the way I was raised, the values that I was raised with, which came directly from my parents. Obviously, as they do, I guess, for lots of people, if not everyone. But they raised me with a social conscience, because that was the community that we lived in. And so that was an important award, because I really got to recognize my parents.